There is a crisis going on at MSNBC as we speak. Meanwhile, you know, it's pretty incredible what we've been able to accomplish here on the Trish Regan show, and I'm proud of it, and you guys are amazing. And like, you know, Leslie, who's been here from the beginning, back when the audio didn't work, sometimes it still doesn't work. But I count on Leslie to tell me, or any of you to tell me. So, you know, we've been here for a while now, and it's been amazing. And this is, to me, so representative of the transition you're seeing in media. So you still got the mainstream media out there, right? And the mainstream media is struggling. We talked about the challenges that Disney is having as a business, and how Bob Iger would love to, you know, get rid of ABC, but nobody's going to pay up for it. So he can't. And so now they're laying off more people. News this week that hundreds of more layoffs were coming there at Disney, massive layoffs. And that likely is to affect the media business pretty significantly, including ABC. So this is sort of just something that's been going on throughout the entire business. You also see, of course, that MSNBC is being spun off with all the cable entities, except for the ones that they want to keep. I think they're keeping Bravo, but most of the cables are getting spun off from Comcast because it no longer makes sense for their business model. So what happens to MSNBC? This is why it's a crisis, because as I said the other day, like, I don't know if this actually stays in business. I don't know if they can pull that off. They just released PSAKI'S newest ratings. You know, little Peppermint Patty, who was the Biden press person and then got the big promotion to become an anchor over on MSNBC. And she's not much of an anchor, shall we say, on MSNBC, but she's floating her book all the time, talking her book, as we like to say in the business media, because she's got all her friends on. It's actually something that Rachel Maddow said about her. It was kind of like a veiled criticism. When Rachel was leaving the seat, she was like, oh, Jen Psaki will be so much better at this job because, you know, she's kind of in the know, and she has all these contacts and all these, you know, relationships. And I don't do that. I'm just kind of over here by myself and with my team, and that's that. And so she was making kind of a veiled, it was like what you call throwing shade, right? It was kind of a veiled criticism, frankly, of Jen Psaki, because what she was saying is Jen Psaki's like so in the tank with everyone that she's never actually going to give you the real scoop. I'm the only one that can do that, Rachel Maddow. And well, maybe she is. Maybe they're going to have to bring her back. Could you bring Rachel back, MSNBC? I mean, I don't think you can afford it. What are you paying her? 25 mil for one show a week? And even that show's not doing so hot. So that's probably not in the cards, although I'm sure somebody's talking about it there, because what are you going to do? They're really struggling. This is a crisis. In fact, Daily Mail reporting it as such. Crisis at MSNBC, as their headline is, Jen Psaki's dismal ratings are released after taking over for Rachel Maddow. What's amazing here, guys, is the plummet. The plummet in real time. I want to show you this. Just incredible. So she's raking in 971,000 viewers for the month. Gosh, you know, I think we had 116 million right here on the Trish Regan channel. Just saying, you know, it's kind of nice, given my history in mainstream media. Anyway, Psaki raked in just 971,000 viewers over the course of the month, down from Maddow's 1.89. So she's basically doing twice as much, right? Or to be really specific, a 47% drop. According to May's ratings report, prior to May 6, Maddow, they report, had hosted her show for 5 nights a week to cover the first 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency. And so she's going to continue, of course, hosting on Mondays as Psaki, that's got to be tough, going through life with, I digress. I'd go by Peppermint Patty if I were you. Broadcast Tuesday through Friday. The numbers show that MSNBC's flagship show is really, really struggling. And they've fallen so drastically in recent years that now Comcast has said, we don't need this anymore. And so they've actually taken all their cable channels and they're bundling them up, and they got a tax incentive to spin them off. It was originally called Spinco, and now they're calling it Versant. I don't know, it sounds fancier, kind of French, right? But here's my question. Do they actually spin MSNBC off with it? Is it worth it? Or do you just shutter the thing because, you know, it's a lawsuit waiting to happen? Do you just get rid of it like you got rid of Joy Reid? Or do you find a way somehow to manage it? I mean, you got a lot of expenses there, ladies and gentlemen. You got, that Morning Joe team. They're a pretty penny, right? And they get no ratings, like literally no ratings. So you're paying through the nose for them. Why? I don't know why. And I actually think they're dragging you down big time. I think that that's going to be a real problem. Yes, Unc Andy, thank you. We are killing it here on the Trish Regan Show. Appreciate your generosity. And yes, David, you like that nickname for her, I know. Anyway, we're killing it, and it's thanks to you guys because you're just spreading the word, and I love it. And yeah, we're beating MSNBC. It's amazing. It shows you, you build it, they will come, really. Hard work, perseverance, willing to get up here every day and sometimes not even know how to work the equipment and have Leslie tell you, Trish, your audio is not on. Anyway, I appreciate your tremendous patience, and I think that you appreciate the transparency in all of this and the authenticity, right, in all of this. And that's not what you're getting at the likes of MSNBC or The View or any of these things. I mean, certainly not at Little Peppermint Patty's show. Arnold Young, thank you as well for your generosity. You're not seeing that there because, heck, she's the one who stood up there and told us that Joe Biden was great all the time. And then she's continued to do it, saying, I didn't see anything. Nothing. Like, what are you talking about? The guy, mental decline. Oh, they don't go there. You might actually be suggesting something quite bad, a la Watergate. Of course, the reporter who wrote the book, who I'm not a big fan of, has actually said, this is worse than Watergate. Here's Jen.
I left in May of 2022, just for the facts here. And I have seen Biden once since then, when I took my daughter to the holiday party this last December after he had lost. And so I hadn't seen him in person during that period of time. I never saw that person, not a single time. And I was in the Oval Office every day that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly. Were things that people saw during that period of time that were similar to that or would have been in a category of that? I don't know, possibly, right? And all these books are going to tell us.
Like, do you think that were they actively covering it up? Were they sort of in denial, or was that just a bad debate? Like, what is your read on that?
Well, this is what I mean about cover up is a very loaded term, I think.
Well, it means you knew that it was really bad and you're pretending otherwise versus you're deluding yourself, which I think is what people do a lot.
Well, I understand, but I still think it's like cover up is often like a crime, right? We're talking when people use that term.
They say it's worse than the crime.
People use that term as they relate to Watergate or the covering up of not sharing public information about a war.
Yeah, and I'm not accusing anybody of a crime.
I understand, but other people have used that term, and I think it's a bit of a dangerous term.
Ooh, so that show's not really working out for you, huh? Surprise, surprise, surprise. Oh, poor MSNBC. I don't know what they're going to do now. I mean, she was supposed to save the day, right? Rachel said she was better than her. Jen Psaki's going to kill it. Not the case. Now they're like, Rachel, please come back. Would you come back? But, I'm telling you, Rachel's not going to get the numbers either because you know what? America's been burned. And they've been burned by this exact crew. I mean, when you had this guy, Joe Biden, ask him, where's Jackie? One of my favorite clips. And no one in the mainstream media, cares. They think we're the crazy ones, right, for actually pointing this out, remember?
And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here. To help make this.
Jackie was dead. He's referring to the congresswoman who died in a car accident, and it's like months later, and he doesn't know, he doesn't remember. I mean, that was just par for the course. Josh Hawley saying on Fox the other night that he spoke with a Secret Service member that told him Joe Biden would go into his closet in the morning and get lost. Must have been a big closet, right? Or maybe it was Joe Biden and the mental decline. I mean, my big question is, you got two bad answers in front of you in terms of the medical care. What is the medical care for the President of the United States? I mean, that's a national security issue, for goodness sakes. He's either getting really bad medical care, which is what it sounds like, if in fact you're to believe them, that they had no idea that his prostate cancer was that advanced, and they're not requiring him to take that test because they're, when you're in their 70s and 80s, you don't need it, allegedly. Well, I'm sorry, you're the President of the United States. I don't think we play by the exact same medical rules as the insurance companies that don't want to pay for the lousy test. Now, do we? Get the test. You're the president. And so he chose not to get the test for a reason, perhaps. So he's either getting bad, I was going to say a bad word, but I won't. Well, yeah, what the heck, I can. Crappy medical care, all right? He's either getting that or it's a cover-up. And they knew. And they just didn't want to have to release those test results because they knew it would be a big deal. You know what else they knew? They couldn't run him again. I mean, if people knew that he had advanced prostate cancer, that would have been an excuse to get him out. And so, yet they did run him again, and they covered something up. I mean, remember the invisible chair thing? Forgive me, there was a chair. I have to be careful because there was a chair, okay? There was a chair. And eventually everybody sits down. But that was a heck of a thing to say or see. I mean, was it not, right?
And there's also been a lot of discussion recently about your mental and physical capabilities while you were in office.
You can see that. I'm mentally incompetent, and I can't walk, and I can beat the hell out of both of them.
Do you want to reply to any of those reports, and also to the fact that there are some Democrats who are now questioning whether you should have run for re-election in the first place?
Why didn't they run against me then? Because I'd have beaten them.
Do you have any regrets?
No, I don't.
Oh, they couldn't run against you. Don't you understand? Like you were elbowing everybody out of the way. I mean, obviously you should have been primaried. I'm looking at it the whole time, in real time. And we talked about it here on the show. I said it. They've got to get rid of him. He can't be top of the ticket. And then it got complicated because you see, you couldn't not put Kamala Harris in, or then you risked alienating too many black women who are considered part of the base of the party. So therefore that became problematic. And so it was like, who is going to run? And I guess at the end of the day, they just made this crazy decision to go forward with Joe until like they really couldn't. And they saw those poll numbers and they're like, oh my gosh, she's really going to lose. So then they put Kamala in, but you know, I could have told them, she's really going to lose. Like you thought it was going to be bad with Biden. Kamala is what we call high beta, right? Like a high beta stock. Lots of highs, lots of lows. But you don't necessarily want that because there are a lot of people that just don't like her or they don't respect her. Yours truly doesn't really respect Kamala Harris because I don't think she reads. I don't think she understands sort of basic economics. I don't think she can speak. Well, we know she can't speak. And so these are kind of some of the qualifications I would consider rather important as somebody who's running for the presidency of the United States of America. So she didn't have any of that. Of course, Joe Biden didn't have much of that either, but he kind of seemed like a nice guy, sort of. He's actually not. He's actually kind of a mean son of a bee. I've heard this from Democrat sources, and he can carry a grudge like you wouldn't believe. So are they scared of him? Or were they scared of losing power? Maybe a little bit of a combination of both initially, and then as time wore on, I guess they really started to realize, you know what, this could work for them. Hey, we got the auto pen, right? What do you want? You want a pardon? There are now allegations, I played you this the other day, from one congressman of this possibly being a pay-to-play kind of scandal. Whatever it is, Comer's on it.
They know that the American people think that the judiciary under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland was weaponized to attack Donald Trump. I think they know the legacy media networks were lying about Joe Biden's mental health. They were lying about Joe Biden's family, influence peddling the office of the presidency. And when you've got a family that was clearly guilty of influence peddling, a president who was not mentally aware of what was going on, and you're issuing wide-reaching executive orders and pardons, and the only people that are in the White House representing the Biden family are people who were found in our investigation of influence peddling, then it raises a lot of questions as to what was the decision process and who was forging, because if Joe Biden wasn't authorizing it, someone was forging his name on some very important documents.
So you kind of wonder, people in the actual White House, what did they know, right? Like, what did they really and truly know? What did Jen Psaki know? Who was covering for who? And so Jen Psaki's getting creamed in the ratings. Like, are we surprised? I mean, she's not exactly, fun to tune into, right? And she's in the tank for one person. So that doesn't surprise me. What I would be interested to see is whether or not they make a decision to bring back Rachel Maddow and replace Psaki as they get closer and closer to the spin-off of Versant. Right? Because investors at that point are going to be looking at those numbers and saying, we don't like this. We don't like that we're paying all this money, $25 million, allegedly. I don't know if that's true or not. I think Donald Trump's the one who said, I would find that hard to believe. It would just be bad business, right? But apparently they're paying her all this money to do one show a week while they get the little peppermint patty out there just suffering and tanking the whole shebang. Yeah, as an investor, I'd say that's not going to fly. We need something better. We must do better, right? Poor MSNBC. What a mess. It's like they just don't know. They don't get like what actually resonates on television. None of these networks do, in part because you know what? They're so freaking political. You get sharp elbows where one talent's trying to kill the other, and oh my gosh, you know, they got to get Joy Reid out of the way, which I would commend them on that one, so that Jen Psaki can take the spot. Very interesting.